Hello, welcome to the Stadium of Light. My name's James Copley. This is Jason Jones. We're from the Sunderland Echo. We're going to be doing your on the whistle video after the Stoke City loss in the FA Cup. We apologise that there's no Phil, but he is in Manchester at the moment on his stag do, so he can be excused. We hope you enjoy that, Phil. Jace, what questions have we got?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I think it's fair to say that Phil chose a good week, to be honest, stag do.
He did.
After that game. Anyway, Ethan is asking, how many additions and in what areas do you think we need after that? Squad not deep enough given the injuries we have, in my opinion.
It's a tricky question, isn't it? I think, you know, Watson and Mundler injured on the wing, aren't there? And they're going to be another sort of 2, 3, maybe 4 weeks, Lebris said during his last press conference. So perhaps a little bit of depth there. Aushish has done okay. You'd think would be relatively well stocked in the middle now. You know, Aji Alese is the big elephant in the room, isn't he? Obviously, he was stretched off. It doesn't look too good. Lebris hinted at the injury's probably going to be serious, but we'll know more about that over the next couple of days. So fullback, you would say. Obviously, Niall Huggins isn't going to be around for a long time. Leo Hjelde had a decent game against Stoke City, but you know, long term in the Championship at left back, 09 can play there. But then if Hume goes down, I think fullback for me is one that we're really struggling. What do you think?
Yeah, I would echo that. I think the obvious one is a little bit of defensive cover in wide areas. I think as well a striker probably wouldn't go amiss. I think it's fair to say. Obviously Wilson Isidore has done very well this season. Beyond that, and there are a couple of questions here that we'll get on to. Aaron Connolly started today. He's struggled, hasn't he, to really get himself up to pace. I think it's fair to say over the course of his Sunderland career. Beyond that, you're looking at Nazari Rusin. Obviously, talk about him.
Came on the left today, didn't he?
He did. He was playing like a left wing back role, which you sort of have always wondered with Rusin where he's actually more comfortable. Because when he first came in, there was a lot of talk about him being that central striker, but he's operated quite often on the left for Sunderland. For my money, and I know he hasn't necessarily had a great deal of an opportunity to prove himself, he's always looked a little bit better out on the left as well, I think it's fair to say.
It's a good point you make about Connolly as well, because he's obviously played the majority of extra time today as well. Did he play the whole thing? I can't quite remember. Did he get subbed off? He played the whole thing, didn't he? But as a central striker in a 4-3-3, I don't think he's very effective at all. I don't necessarily think that's his fault, whether he needs to play off somebody in a 4-4-2. I would be interested to see him play the Mayenda role alongside Wilson Isidore, whether that's going to happen, because obviously Mayenda and Isidore have that sort of connection. But I just think for a player of Connolly's stature, talented although he is, to play in a 4-3-3, I think it's difficult for him.
Yeah, I fully agree with that. And actually, I'm just going to link this into Mike Smith's question as well, because he's asking, will we pull in another striker? Obviously, Ahmed Abdullahi's near in fitness. Could that potentially be something that affects Sunderland in this month? Possibly.
I think with Abdullah, he's coming back off such a long-term injury. He's so inexperienced in the Championship. It will be good to have him back for selection, but you just don't know, do you? You don't know if you can hang your hat on him. You don't know if he's going to be an option. You don't know how long it's going to take him to acclimatise to sort of English football. So it's the great unknown, isn't it? It's a massive boost if he turns out to be decent and contributes towards the back end of the season. But just looking at him, he's the same sort of profile in terms of age that Mayenda was, wasn't he? Took Mayenda a little while. Obviously, Mayenda had to go out on loan at Hibs, didn't work from there, then he's come back. So you just don't know how long it's going to take. I think we've said on the Raw podcast, and I think Phil's mentioned it on the Whistle videos as well, is that like good teams have a lot of goals and a lot of striking options, don't we? And we have a couple of good striking options at the moment, but not necessarily sort of anything you'd associate with promotion, even though I think Sunderland are a really, really good team. I do think we need like another 5-10 goals to get over the line.
Yeah, again, I would sort of echo that. I think that there is a lot of weight at the moment being put on Isidore's shoulders.
Very much so.
I think that we saw during that tricky run that he had.
7 games.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. As soon as he stops providing those goals, you know, we saw today, I think Mayenda's a wonderful player, and I think he's got an immense amount of raw potential, but his finishing isn't always the most reliable or the most consistent. You know, Connolly, like you said, I think he struggles when he's up there on his own. He's just not that sort of player for my money.
And with Isidore as well, if he picks up an injury, then that's Sunderland in real trouble.
Yeah, it really is. So I still think that a striker has to be a priority, and I'd like to think it probably will be.
I think so.
Going forward. Again, another question about Connolly. Where does he fit in? Do you still think that he has a role in this squad yet?
Like, I like Connolly. I like how open he's been about his struggles and stuff. But to me, at the moment, and I hope he can change this, it just feels like a little bit of a Bradley Dack signing, and I don't mean in terms of injuries. He's sort of fitting that profile at the moment. They're not exactly the same player, they're not exactly the same person, but it just seems to be like that 1 year we'll take a punt, see if he's any good, and if he isn't, it's fine. It's only a 1 year contract, and we can sort of shake hands at the end of it. It sort of feels like that to me at the moment. Hopefully he can change that, but yeah, again, playing up front in a 4-3-3, I just don't think it suits him at all.
No, I would echo that. And also just a quick word as well on Trey Ogunsuyi, who made his debut today. Obviously, didn't have much of an opportunity to prove himself. He came on quite late, and it was a difficult moment in the match, but good to see him come on.
No, really, really good. Trey Ogunsuyi obviously making his first ever Sunderland appearance. As well, Harrison Jones started the game. It wasn't his first Sunderland appearance, but it was his first start. He played against Preston in the Carabao Cup. Two exciting prospects. It'll be interesting to see what happens to them in terms of loan moves and stuff like that going forward. Ogunsuyi, you wouldn't expect him to go. I think he'll probably remain playing for the under-21s. Yeah. Harrison Jones, who knows? He might go out with the National League, but you know, it's a great moment for both players, and at the end of their career, if nothing else, they can say that they've played for Sunderland, and I think it's the boyhood club of both players actually at the Stadium of Light. And I mean, what would we give to have said that? And hopefully these lads are going to go over and have like fantastic careers, but they've got that moment to build on now. I think that's really good.
Yeah, and just a quick note as well, that start in midfield three, Dan Neil, Chris Rigg, Harrison Jones, all Sunderland Academy graduates.
Yeah.
Sort of almost like two generations, if you like, because Neil's come through, and then I know it feels like Rigg is more along, but he's actually younger than Jones, so it's a weird one, but a really nice thing to see with those three all getting.
I think with Jones as well, he actually played his part in Sunderland's equalising goal. He sort of gets a little header, and then the ball comes to Aushish, doesn't it, and he sends it in for Leksic to get the equaliser. It's a shame it didn't result in a Sunderland win in the end. We probably all could have done without extra time, to be honest. But here we are at the Stadium of Light.
Yeah, I mean, I've only just regained some of the feeling in my toes.
Yeah, I'm absolutely freezing, to be honest.
A couple more. One being from AJJ, who's asking about Jones getting the start and asking why he was opted for in that starting 11 ahead of Samed, who also came on to make a debut later.
Yeah, I think that's an interesting question. I think obviously Jones, in terms of his fitness, is probably further ahead than Samed. They probably didn't want to risk him from the start, although he ended up playing like quite a bit of football anyway because of the extra time. I actually really liked Samed when I saw him. He didn't do anything too flashy. He kept things nice and tidy. I was really impressed by his athleticism. I was impressed by his stamina as well. His desire to sort of make those sort of key sprints, I was really, really impressed with. He was always available on the ball as well. I think Jones has probably gotten the nod because of that fitness question, and partly just as a reward for his hard work. He's been captain in the under-21s for a long time now, working very hard. He's been with the senior group. He's been on the bench quite a few times, so I think it just sort of made sense in that regard.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think as well, like, you know, there's got to be a progression for these players.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
like you say, we've been, Harrison Jones and Trey Ogunsuyi, to be fair, they're two players who we've been harping on about for a long time, because we watch a lot of the under-21s, and those two in particular, and there are a lot of good players at that level, but those two consistently stand out. And I think that in a game like today, which maybe, if we're being completely honest, wasn't a huge priority for Sunderland, why not give him the opportunity to prove himself? And I actually thought that he equipped himself quite well, and I think that moving forward there's no reason why he can't stake a claim to earn more first team minutes.
Yeah, you'd like to hope so, and you'd like to think so, and you know, as you say, the recent history at Sunderland suggests that this is exactly the place to do that.
Yeah, and just a quick one to wrap up as well from Andrew Mack, who is asking, Dennis Serkin, was he injured or was he just left out? This is something you actually asked.
Yeah, I asked Libri about Patrick Roberts, Dennis Serkin and Anthony Patterson, the three players that dropped out of the squad entirely, and he said they were absolutely fine. And it just, to me, sounds like a case of they were the ones that were rested. He also mentioned Job and Wilson Isidore and Mepham as well. Obviously, they were on the bench, but he didn't want to bring them on. Essentially, was the line from it. Really, he wanted to give them a good rest. Obviously, all eyes to Burnley now. But yeah, I think I'm not sure we'll remember this game against Stoke in the FA Cup for that long, really, will we?
No, it's one that, if I'm being completely honest, I kind of want to forget as soon as possible. And also, on that note, I want to get off this concourse as soon as possible.
It is absolutely freezing.
Baltic.
Right, Sunderland Echo for all your latest content. We will see you soon.